Welcome to the Datesand Tunnel Vision podcast. On today's episode, I'll be speaking with Stephen Barlow, Datesand's Quality and Operations Manager, about sustainability practices in the workplace and why it's important to care for our planet. Welcome to episode 4 of the Datesand Tunnel Vision podcast. Thank you for joining me.
Thank you.
Today we're going to be talking about sustainability practices and how it benefits employees, employers and everybody on the planet, obviously. So we talk a little bit about you first?
So I'm Stephen Barlow, Operations and Quality Manager for Datesand. Been with Datesand for 10 years. This will be my 10th year in July. I started 10 years ago. My background is commercial property, so quite different to what I'm doing now, but there are lots of transferable skills. So and my role is quite varied in terms of what I do, and sustainability comes into that.
How did you get into the sustainability?
So I manage the credentials for the business. So we've had ISO 9001, which is a quality standard for a number of years before I started. I think it was 2008 when we first achieved it, so a long time now. But we in 2021 or 2020, when we first moved to this facility, we started having conversations about our environmental policy, which we already had, but we could see that there was an increase in demand and requests for environmental credentials, and our customers were asking for those. So we looked and explored the idea of achieving 14,001, which is the environmental standard for ISO. So we explored that, and Simon Thorpe, the operations director at the time, I think he'd retired, but he was helping us out with achieving that particular standard. So he came in, and to be honest, my understanding of sustainability and all things environmental weren't what they are now, I suppose, and we worked together on it and looked at our impacts and aspects and impacts, which is part of the process which you have to do to achieve that, and from there we've sort of developed a knowledge. So I think that was our first sort of footstep into sustainability, was working towards achieving the standard. So I think, like I said, we started that in 2020 and I finally achieved it in 2021. So I think that what was really good was that Simon was quite forward thinking, and even before I joined we had an environmental policy, so there was things in place that meant we had a good foundation to build off, and then we just needed to make sure that we had everything in place since then, and every year since then we've been assessed by external auditors who come in and look at our practices. Are we adhering to the standard? And then we also set ourselves objectives, so things like putting solar panels on, or improving our environmental policy and reducing our carbon emissions, and all the things that we've done to date, we've set as objectives for ourselves each year, and then and talk about those as part of the management review process for ISO. We look at where we've our progress against those objectives.
So do you have to keep progressing to sort of prove that you keep going, to keep getting those credentials?
So as part of the requirements for the standard, you have to set objectives. It's up to you what those objectives are,
as long as you're meeting them.
I suppose as long as you're meeting them. I think the main thing for the standard is making sure that you're adhering with the standard. So you don't necessarily have to document everything that you're doing, but it absolutely helps in terms of being able to evidence it when somebody's coming in. It's better that you've got a piece of paper that you can show them. Most of the time it's electronic, to be fair, but we've moved away from paper-based.
Well, we're kind of doing both here now. You've got a paper and I've got digital.
My device is with IT at the moment.
Oh,
so
that's fair enough.
Otherwise, I would have my tablet in front of me.
That's all right. So I was thinking it more from, obviously I've only been here about 2 years now. In my previous jobs, I've never ever thought about like what sustainability practices my old workplaces have had. And I've never thought, I need to work somewhere that has really good sustainability. I liked the sort of idea of it, but not like actively considering it. So like, what is the benefit really? Like, why do workplaces need to be adopting these practices of sustainability that you've seen?
Yeah, good question. Yeah, the reason why we do it first and foremost is because we want to use business as a force for good. So and it's important to us, and I think there's a climate crisis, and that's everyone's issue, whether you're in business or not. So I think we want to do the right thing. That's why we're doing it. I think it's important for businesses to go on a journey with sustainability and make sure that they're writing it into their culture, and we have done specifically that in terms of the Datesand way. We've put responsibility in there, so that goes to being responsible towards each other, but also the environment. So it extends that far. I think it's important for our customers because they they value it and want to buy from businesses that are doing the right thing, and same for employees of businesses. They want to work for a company that's practicing doing things sustainably, and also looking after the planet and caring, and so I think there's definite value, and people value that. That's why we do it. But like I said, it's about doing the right thing, and we've got a number of people here at Datesand that are very passionate about sustainability, and I think we're trying to engage and encourage people and educate people as to why it is there.
We've definitely seen a lot of more, especially since I started. It's just like, obviously we have been doing it already before me, but like even still, and I'm sort of a little bit involved sometimes, and then we've got like Earth Day coming up, and all these sorts of things where it's like trying to engage people just to even have that conversation about it. Because I mean, I recycle at home and stuff, but then I don't think about it when I come to work. But some places you have to do that. So for them, like our customers, they might say, well, this is actually a really big deal for me. How can you make it sustainable for us on our end? And then we put that into practice for them as well, not just like instilling it in our people, but also helping them. But I think that it's quite challenging sometimes to get people on board, don't you think? So my other question was going to be, what challenges have you seen being as part of the sustainability team that we've got here, and then also in sort of maybe the audits or anything else that we've got? Has there been any sort of major challenges or something that you've sort of faced?
Yeah, I mean less so here as an organisation. Most people are interested in what we're doing. I think we're trying to raise awareness around that, and hopefully educate people and understand why it should be their responsibility, or understanding what impact we have as a business on the environment, and trying to improve that. I think some of the challenges that we've had are being limited resource. I think that's been one of our challenges. We're an SME. There isn't a dedicated person to doing sustainability, so I've had to educate myself. So like I said at the beginning, that we when we'd looked at 14,001 and going on that journey, sort of learning as we were going along, the things that I've done is to sort of develop my knowledge and understanding further. I took part in the Journey to Net Zero course with the Growth Company, so that's a Greater Manchester organisation that have access to funding and put on I think it was a 7-week course that I attended, like a half day every week, and then sort of progressed and understand how to measure your impact and see where to make savings and what you can do as a business to reach that goal of net zero. So that is a challenge, that is a real challenge. So measuring your scopes 1 and 2, so scopes 1 is your fuel usage and scope 2 is your electricity usage. So direct, or scope 2 is indirect because you're buying it in, but your fuel usage, scope 1 is direct emissions. Scope 3 is your indirect, so things like your supply chain and the transport to you and your commuting and all of these things that come into that is where the challenges lie. It's measuring that because it's not just you, it's kind of looking outside and that wider impact that you're having. So that can be that is a challenge.
It is challenging,
so we've got we've just completed our measurement of scope 3 for the baseline year. So 23-24 we've established our baseline in 5 mandatory areas or categories as they call them for scope 3 for the NHS. So they have, as I said just then, there's the commuting, business travel, upstream and downstream transportation and waste are the 5 areas that they are saying are mandatory. So we've worked towards that and we've established our baseline. So we had a meeting yesterday to discuss the reporting and the reports that are coming out of that and then we'll start to focus on where we can make improvements and we'll moving forward we'll do that year on year and work towards reducing our emissions. So the journey to net zero, as I understand it anyway, is reducing your emissions by 90% over all scopes. So scopes 1, 2 and 3. So
but it's quite hard though to try and get some of that information from other people, because if it's just all like internal information, we've got all the data and we've got all this, but when you're having to do the external, do you think that puts people off from doing it?
It does. I think so, and it's a lot easier to do scopes 1 and 2, and I think people can be daunted by that, and especially if you
wouldn't even know where to start.
Well, we didn't either, and to be fair, we've engaged with an external organisation who have been massively helpful, and they pointed us in the direction of what information to find, what do they need to be able to calculate and measure our scope 3. So
there are people out there are organisations that can help people
absolutely
to do this,
and it doesn't necessarily have to be at cost. Again, the growth company or the green economy, they have a department specifically to help with things like that, and I'm sure across the UK there'll be other organisations that can support and help you. The thing to bear in mind with that is speak to your local council and say probably your business engagement team and say want to explore this, or can you point me in the right direction, and networking as well.
I was going to say about networking as well, about local communities, people.
We're really lucky in Greater Manchester, but Stockport especially, where we're based, there's Stockport Climate Action Now, which is again run by the council. So that's a network of people. So it could be people that do solar panel installation, but they also could be consultants, or there are other businesses, so like-minded businesses that you can network and understand what they've done. And so from that network, I've had lots of useful hints and tips, and been put in touch with other companies. Again, had a conversation yesterday with a waste provider who's looking at where else we can make reductions in our waste, and a special project as well that we're working on as well. So but wouldn't have been able to make the progress that we've done without having the network and being pointed in the right direction, I suppose. So going back to the challenges, the measurement of data is really difficult.
Yeah.
We're quite lucky because we're quite a simple site, so there's not we've got only electricity on site. There's no gas. We are fortunate because we own the building, so we have access to the data. Whereas if you were renting a building, or there's perhaps central sort of department facilities, for example, you might have challenges trying to get the data that you need, I suppose. So that's it. And I think a particular challenge that we've had was we've installed 124 kilowatts of solar now, and we did that across two installations. The first one, I think, was 2021 was the first one that we did, and that was a real success. And when we looked at it again and tried to make ourselves a net zero facility, so generate all of the electricity annually that we're using. So that doesn't mean that we're always generating the electricity we need, because you can't generate electricity at night. It means that over the course of the year that we're when we're over generating, we're selling back to the grid, and then when we're pulling from the grid. But the balance of that is that we're using what we're generating over the course of the year. So, but the second installation was a real challenge for us. I think it was supposed to take place over a 2-week time scale, and I think it ended up being 4 to 5 months.
I remember having that scaffolding up for a while.
So from start to finish, and so we had lots of problems with getting parts for the installation, and having people available to do it, and the workmanship. So I think with lots of learnings from that, because it went so well the first time, we kind of perhaps a bit overconfident with the and
was it not the same company you didn't go to?
It wasn't, unfortunately, and I think we would have done well if we did have the same company, but we've learnt our lessons. And I think my advice to other people, and when I speak at events, I say make sure you do your homework and go and see other installations that speak to somebody that's had it done. And
I was going to say, it's good to have that network behind as well, because most likely they've had some people doing it, especially if it's local community. It's probably a local business. You
want a reference site and to know that how did it go, and was it as you expected. And I think we've still got hangovers from the installation, and we're trying to make sure that it's been done correctly and to the right standard and safely. I think those are the priorities.
I think they've done that eventually, though. They seem to be up there all right now.
They're fine, and we've had it inspected since by another independent companies. But you want to know that, or it just shouldn't have taken that long. So do your homework is what I would say.
That's pretty good advice. Is there any other advice you have for people? I feel like for most, even businesses and normal people, like employees or just in their own home life, sometimes it's like you struggle knowing where to start, don't you? And or sometimes you don't have like a guide, like a sheet that says this is all what you need to do. So sometimes I think it can be a bit daunting for people to sort of start. Like, what would you sort of say? I mean, you were in that position yourself, weren't you, where it kind of just was like, you've got to deal with it now and learning yourself, but
when we started this journey, fortunately I had Simon to help me with getting on the journey and going through the requirements of ISO. So I think ISO is a really good framework for guiding you as to what you need to put in place. So that potentially is a place to start looking at credentials. But I think another bit of advice would be just to start and progress over perfection. I say this at all the events that I've spoken at sustainability events.
Been to quite a few of those, haven't you?
Yeah,
local ones as well.
So just over a year ago now, I did my first event, which was sustainable climate action now event for Stockport Council, and that was talking about what we'd done in relation to transport and travel, and then other events that I've been at have been with the Proper Good in Stockport, and they connecting social enterprises with businesses in Stockport, and we spoke about green volunteering because we've been put in contact with Marbury Road through them and did the volunteering there where we laid a wood chip path and
dug a pond recently. Have you seen she's commented on our LinkedIn post? We now have a newt in the pond.
Oh, amazing.
So brilliant news.
That's good.
Just got that this morning.
Yeah.
So at least the wildlife's coming back, and the pond that you built.
That's brilliant news. Yeah.
So I like that.
They've got a particular issue with drainage there, so they're going to put a number of different ponds on site, as well as planting trees, which is really important to us, obviously, to capture CO2, and also because of the business that we're in. I think it feels like the right thing to do in terms of planting trees. Obviously, we make sure that our products and things come from sustainable sources, so that's really important to us, and we work hard to reduce our plastic packaging, look at alternatives in terms of packaging.
Because that's not just with us as well, is it? That's with our customers too. We find that a lot of feedback is always like, but how is it sustainable? How can we recycle it?
Exactly.
And then we always find that solution, and I think it's quite nice that we're always still prioritising that in everything. Yeah,
we're driven or guided by our customers' needs, and we've seen that for tenders, so large tenders that we've done for some of our big customers, that they weight some of the tender towards environmental performance or social impact. So that's really important to us, and we're in a very good position because of all the things that we've done and are doing, that we can score well in those particular areas. So that's a driver for us, but it doesn't necessarily relate to the size of organisation. We do get from lots of different customers and different size organisations. We're now seeing sustainability questionnaires which are asking what are we doing. So much like our scope 3, and we're looking at our supply chain in terms of measuring that, our customers are doing the same, so they'll be asking us what our impact or apportion our impact to their activities. So
that's really good to see.
So we're doing that, and we're making sure that we're putting ourselves in the best position to be able to answer that and support our customers with the information that they need. So that's another driver for us.
I think sometimes with big organisations, it can be quite I guess more difficult, but sort of in the way where it's like people aren't as engaged as much, you often think, because there's so many people that they don't really want to be involved in it, or sometimes you just kind of push it to the side. But I think like the more even smaller companies and stuff like keep pushing it and saying this is important, this is what we need to do, the more that they'll start picking up, and I think that'd be really good. But I do find that we get very engaged here. I love our events and stuff. We always have it. I'm excited for the Earth Day event that we've got.
That's
the painting
next week.
Is it?
That's
so exciting.
We've got some Hannah, who's one of the green team here at Datesand, has just completed a Journey to Net Zero programme. So that's been a massive help for me, and she's been driving a lot of the projects. So things like Scope 3 and our impact statement. She's been leading on those projects, as well as our impact report, which we're working on at the moment. So we're hoping to release on the 22nd of April, which is Earth Day, our impact statement, which you've kindly prepared for us, and it looks great, so thank you for doing that. But we're also working on an impact report for our baseline year, which will include things like our scope 3,
Yeah.
our impact on community. So we've broken it down into 3 sections. So it's people, so that's our impact on community, impact on our own people, and impact on our customers, for example. Planet, so the environmental side of things, and then progress, so business related activities, and things like the credentials would slot into that. So really quite exciting in terms of the developments that we're doing,
the progress that we keep going.
Exactly.
How we keep the ball going on.
Yeah, it's really good fun. So we are going back to what we were saying about painting the bug hotel. So that Hannah's going to be doing a talk on biodiversity, and so it's a nice little activity for people to do, and she'll be sharing some information on the day as well, and we'll release our impact statement on the website. So
that'll be good.
It should be good.
Yeah,
and Hannah's been a really big help to the progress that we've made, because up until probably the start of last year, most of the progress had been made by me, and
it's nice now to have like a team that can support you, and
you
can all drive it sort of.
It's fast tracked the progress that we've made, definitely. So
that's another thing I think that people tend to like. If there's just one person that has an idea, we need to start doing this, if you can like rally together and get like a group of you, I think that's a big factor in being able to push and drive the changes that people want.
If you've got buy-in from everybody, through raising awareness by putting on the events. So one really good event that we did was the Climate Crisis Day, which was last October. So there's a specific day in October that we put on event, and we had like really fun activities, a big game of snakes and ladders that we had there, and higher and lower cards, and also looked at individuals' own impact on and carbon emissions and things. So we helped people look at their carbon emissions, and sent out a link to the WWF organisation to do their own footprint calculator, I think it was called. So they did that, and then when we came to the actual session, they looked at ways of reducing their carbon footprint. So I think that's another way of sort of helping people along the way, and making impact, because we can do things like put solar panels on and invest in, but it's that bigger picture, I suppose, and educate it. So I have done the carbon literacy certification, so I've got that, the Journey to Net Zero program. Speaking to people at networking events have all helped guide us and sort of focus in what we're trying to achieve, and what our sustainability goals will be. So I think the social impact report that we're preparing at the moment will be a good overview of everything that we're doing, and hopefully help explain to people why we're doing that, what our goals are, and make improvements and progress in that area.
And hopefully encourage other people to do the same thing with their
That's
businesses.
the idea.
Be like an influence.
I like to think that we're leading the way in that.
Let's say we are. Brilliant.
I think we are.
Definitely. Perfect. So thank you for that.
This is the bit I'm most worried about.
You should be. No, it should be fine. It's going to be sustainability by numbers. So I'm going to give you A, B or C, multiple choice, and then you pick which one you think it is. And it should be pretty easy, really. But I will start with question 1. You ready? Okay. How much more energy efficient is LED lighting compared to traditional bulbs? 10%, 40% or 90%?
Don't think it was 90%. That's quite a leap. But I had 70% in my head, so that's why I'm thinking, could it be 90%? So yeah, 40% seems a bit low, but because we've done that here, and we replaced all of our lighting, and that had one of the biggest impacts, and we actually got some grant funding to do that. So really, I should know the answer to. Well, I don't think 90% is too much.
Take a wild guess.
I'm going to say 40%, whatever that one was.
I even double checked it this morning, and it says LEDs use up to 90% less energy and last up to 25% longer than incandescent bulbs.
Should have gone with what my...
Should have just gone for the top. Should have done it.
My gut instinct. Right.
Okay, well,
I'll do better for the next one.
Okay. There are 4 main renewable sources which make up 41.8% of the UK energy in the 12 months before July 2024. So my question is, though, which one contributed the most? So A, wind, B, hydro, or C, solar?
Wind.
Perfect, well done. So according to the National Grid, it is currently the largest proportion of the renewable energy at 29.4%. And then it's biomass, solar, and then hydro.
Right.
So it's not too bad. Okay, so that's 1 out of 2.
Yeah.
Let's see if you get the last one. How much higher is employee engagement in companies perceived as genuinely committed to sustainability? 8%, 16%, or 24%? And this was according to one study that I read.
18 or 80?
8. So 8, 16, or 24?
I'm going to say 24. I'm going to go top.
I wish it was, but the one I read said it was a 16% higher employee engagement rate when they are perceived as genuinely committed to sustainability.
Right.
Which I think, if we did it here, I think it would be way higher than 16, because we're all pretty into it in here.
Yeah.
We all actually enjoy it, and we make it fun though as well. We don't make it boring. So
I think it's important to do that, because you don't want to be sort of seen to be preaching to people that you must do this, or I think people have to make their own choices, but if we can inform and raise awareness, and I think people when we did that climate crisis day, there was some people came away with like not understanding their impact of like watching Netflix has, for example, and the boiler in their house being like the biggest emissions.
Yeah, because ultimately it does tie back in at home. I know we do it in the workplace, and we focus on it in the workplace, but ultimately it happens in people's houses as well, shouldn't they? They should be more engaged in their own sort of practices as well, and I think I'll be doing a bit more after all these things. But that's brilliant. So you got 1 question right at least. That's not too bad.
1
out of 3.
That's a shame, that really.
Well, I think I did throw you off a little bit with that last one, because it should have been higher, but that was the point. I wanted to sort of, if we did it here, it would be 100%, I think. But that's not too bad. Thank you so much for joining me today.
Thank you.
Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed today's episode, head over to our YouTube channel to watch more, and don't forget to follow us on socials. See you next time.